and to the folk on the other side of that. Like a typical Leo. I don't even know who the other half of the month belongs to. Like Virgo, Sagittarius, something. I'm not sure. That's terrible, I know. But it's very much like a Leo. If you understand Leos, and you understand that statement is actually very appropriate for me to make. But glad to see each and every one of you this morning as we, wow, on the Power Hour, check in on the news of the day. And we are going to give you all of the opinions that you can handle. I'm your host for this morning, Mark Kelly Tyler. Bishop Dwayne Royster is still on vacay, enjoying himself. I know he is. He needs the rest, and I can't wait for him to get back so I can get some rest. It's like tag team. And so, so enjoy yourself. So you're stuck with me again on today, but I'm not alone because WURD knows better. My chaperone is here. They made me feel better by saying, no, she's the engineer. She's the producer. I know what she is. She's the chaperone. Kawesa, the queen, the chaperone extraordinaire. What's up, Kawesa?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing? How's your weekend?
Wasn't bad. Saw some family. I had a little cousin just turned 1 not too long ago, so we socially distanced outside in the backyard and just kind of hung out. But yeah, and I got absolutely no sleep last night, so that's where I'm at.
Well, I won't ask you about that, but I will ask you about your drive in on today. Tell us the traffic, tell us the weather if you don't mind. What's going on out there?
So yeah, the traffic is starting to pick up a little bit. It's Monday, so folks are headed back into work. But it's actually a little chilly out, mid 60s right now. I think that, for at least, today and maybe the next couple of days, I don't know for sure, but I heard that it won't get too hot. So right now it's actually a little bit of a chill. I was like, oh, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised at the slight chill in the air for a summer morning. So yeah, it's a little chilly.
Yeah, I stepped out for a minute, take the trash out, and it feels like September.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, global warming. You got September and August, and who knows? In fact, they did confirm that was a tornado last week. The touchdown, they said, I think 8 tornadoes touched down in the area, 6 or 8. Woo! Man, things are changing rapidly. Hey, Kawesa, in my world of first world problems. So I told you I switched over to iPhone reluctantly last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did it because one of the vehicles that we have now wouldn't recognize my Android for Android autoplay. It only recognized the family's iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, I got it. It works fine in the new vehicle. Doesn't work on the old vehicle that I had been on the motorcycle.
Oh no.
So Android Auto worked fine there. iPhone not. So I'm like really in a quandary. I'm in a position. I think I'm going back.
Oh no.
I mean, I'm on the bike a lot more than I'm in the vehicle, and they all have CarPlay, so they can throw theirs in. We can look at Waze app there. But I'm sorry. I think this is a short-lived experiment. My kids are going to be mad because I'll be gone for FaceTime. But hey, there's an app called Duo. Suffer with me. Just use Duo. Call me on that video thing. But I'm glad I didn't delete all the stuff off my old phone and send it in yet. Because I think I'm about to wipe this iPhone clean and send it right back to the hell it came from.
No more blue text messages. Oh, sad.
Sorry. I'm being prophetic. I see it coming this week. unless Harley can fix this, I'm gone. Robert Garland's happy. He says Team Android. Yeah, man. It's like what? So one works on So the one that works in the vehicle that I use less and the one that I use the most, it doesn't. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. I'm done. I'm done. I hate changing phones. Spent a day and a half of my life trying to get that thing going. Yeah, Nikki O Tim, I think you're right. Get rid of that iPhone. You can use Duo. If you don't have FaceTime, it's DUO. Duo. And it works. It connects you just like FaceTime, but not just like FaceTime. I think there's some limitation. I don't think you can do the group thing. I'm not sure, but it's fine. Trust me. So Tawanda says on Facebook, I'm going to insert the word Rev in there. Rev, you choose violence early on a Monday morning? Yes. And I'm sorry, this was breaking news to Leslie, who, she's just seeing this. I'm looking at her thread. I'm sorry, I didn't know how to tell you, babe. So I just figured I'd just say it on air. I'm going back to Android. Anyway, much more to talk about today than my first world problems, but I just thought I would share because it's Monday morning. Knock the dust off, get us going, get my chops going. At 6:20, we're going to talk to Wayne Box Miller from Cincinnati, Ohio, my homeboy. I'll tell you, Wayne used to run his own sports talk show in Cincinnati alongside Major Leaguer Eric Davis back in the day. And but right now he's a part of the Cincinnati Bengals radio broadcast team. His old show was the Primetime Sports Show. And he does the pregame and halftime shows with the Bengals. So he knows a little something about sports. And because COVID has been in the news so much, one of the stories I wanted to talk to was someone who's very familiar with the NFL is the fact that Roger Goodell and the NFL have gone to unusual lengths to try to stem the tide of COVID. Now, Roger Goodell, last week I was agreeing with Jim Kinney. Today I'm like, appreciating Roger Goodell. I don't know what's happening. The world's upside down. You won't hear me heaping a whole lot of praise on Roger Goodell because usually the NFL is so horrible at what they do. But I give him his props. They are going to actually, if your team comes back COVID positive, you're gonna get an L on that game. They're gonna give you an L. Yep. So your team, look, you only have a 16-game season. NFL teams know every loss is significant. And so this should put a lot of pressure on teams and teammates, especially the unvaccinated type. The ones who are like, it's my constitutional right. Nobody do anything to my body. But I do support a ban on abortion. But anyway, so I want to talk to Box about how that's impacting the Bengals and other teams and how he's seeing it. And since we got him on, talk a little bit about the changes in the NBA, allowing amateurs to get paid, because there's been a lot of news about LeBron James' son, Bronny, and NBA teams already showing interest in him. Get his thoughts about that, as well as the Olympics. Speaking of the Olympics, guess who's back? Simone Biles is going to compete. Is she doing the beams? I think it's the beams. I believe she's going to be competing on the beams. Simone Biles is back, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that as well. Today, the eviction moratorium comes to an end across the country, and millions of Americans are facing eviction. No surprise, given the fact that a lot of jobs dried up over the last year, and one would expect that this is kind of where we are. One of the persons who is fighting in our area to help persons remain housed is State Senator Art Haywood. He was a big housing advocate before he went into public elected office. Really appreciate the work that State Senator Haywood does. and going to try to run him down to get an interview this week. He's always willing to come on and to really advocate for people. So I don't see that being a heavy lift. So that's one of the voices that we want to hear on this week, State Senator Haywood, as it relates to the housing crunch. Now, let me just say, there's a part of this that people are not talking about. And this was the question that I had for quite some time about the eviction moratorium. And that is, when we talk about landlords, we talk about evictions, typically, I think most of us imagine these large corporations, big apartment complexes that if you've ever lived in one before, I have. I've lived in several before, owning a house. And I should say before buying a house to own someday when I'm old and gray, but old and grayer. But most of us think that the landlord is a huge corporation. Am I right? Think about it. If I say we're putting the eviction moratorium on, so instantly in your mind pops up, good, they're going to stop these big corporations from putting people on the street. But, what happens to like the individual who owns a home, like their home, and they rent it out for whatever reason? They were able to somehow buy a second home and keep that one little house, and they're renting it out. And they're not the big, corporation. It's not Corman. It's not some big apartment complex that has, hundreds of thousands of units across the country, where they're not going to feel the pain if people don't pay, or they're too big to fail, so the government bails them out repeatedly. My question has repeatedly been for legislators, especially in Philly when this came up before, they were trying to get my support. I said, great, but a lot of the people who rent homes and apartments in Philly are people who are barely paying their own mortgage, so they turn a unit in their home into an apartment. They live upstairs. It's big in Philly with row homes, these houses that are really big. So one upstairs becomes a unit for the tenants, downstairs is yours, and the only way you make it work is if you get your rent. And so I just know a lot of people who have been unable to, make their own mortgage payments because they're in that situation. And so the question has been, what is being done for those smaller, quote unquote, landlords? People who don't fit, either category, who also need support. The only way this works is, great, we keep people in their house, but then so you drive somebody's credit score down, which has serious implications. Ask me how I know. Or they have to sell something. I'll give you a good example. I've got a good friend in another state. He's been trying to sell his house because the market is up. It's a home that he started with, got married, they bought a new home, it's been rented. Families actually paid their rent on time throughout the pandemic. They weren't, caught up like that. So he puts the house on the market just like that, gets an offer because that's the kind of market it is. The family now that didn't have problems paying their rent says, there's an eviction moratorium. You can't put us out. We're not going. He's like, what? That's like for people who can't pay their rent. Yep, well, we don't care. First Trump, now Biden. We ain't going nowhere. You can't sell your house. Are you serious? So, so people like that who don't fit the normal criteria of what we imagine, what is being done about them? This is a real problem, and one that I think we need to also address, but it's how we typically do things. It's like, black or white. It's one extreme or the other, and we forget that there are a lot of people in the middle. And if you don't address the people in the middle, then it's going to always be a problem. Yeah. So Renee says a lot of folks that rented units received assistance. However, it did not pay their rent. I know it didn't. It's not enough. It's not enough. And so I get it. Look, you all know me by now. I'm going to always be on the side of the person, that's in the house. We don't want anybody put out on the street. But at the same time, you also don't want to hurt other people as well as an unintended consequence. This is the part, about making laws and negotiating, that when we dig in and it's, it's either black or it's white, it's like these extremes, then it's very difficult to find the folk who are caught in the gray area. And there are millions of people caught right there who are not big landlords who can't afford this. You've got to address it. When we come back, we're going to talk to Wayne Box Miller about a couple of important issues as it relates to the rising COVID numbers and how that intersects with professional sports. He works on the broadcast team with the Cincinnati Bengals, NFL team out of Ohio. And we're going to get his thoughts on that. And before we leave today, we're going to talk about a crazy idea by in an op-ed that came out recently about how to stop police misconduct. They say, do like you do when you rent a unit. Speaking of renting units, how you get a security deposit, you give it back at the end if they don't tear up your place. This person is basically saying, take a security deposit from cops through their paycheck, take a little bit out each pay period, and at the end of their career, if there's no misconduct, if they haven't torn the place up, they get all their money back. And if not, too bad. I kind of like that idea. Get your thoughts on it as well. This is the Power Hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Enterprise Exterminators, located at 4943 Wayne Avenue, has been in business since 1976 and can eliminate whatever pest problems you have. Enterprise specializes in bed bugs, lanternflies, and termites. Call for your free termite inspection today. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Enterprise Exterminators, servicing Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. Call now, 215-849-7070. Ask us about the WURD and senior discounts.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax-Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Wow, that's it, Kwesa? Kwesa, is that really it?
Yeah.
Man, what happened to the good old days with a long break, especially when you're by yourself? You might have to go get some more coffee or something. Remember during the election, the commercials are like 15 minutes? Me and Royster were looking at each other like, another one? Yes, another one. Anyway, welcome back to the Power Hour. As I said, Bishop Royster is getting some much-deserved rest. You are stuck with me again today. And, okay, so Lola Khan says, Rev, there's so much rental assistance, millions of dollars out there for landlords to get their money. That narrative you are stating is not fully true. Okay, well, let's ask Art Haywood about that when he comes on this week, because I hear others like Ed Minner saying on Facebook, some seniors rent properties, it's their retirement income. And then Rochelle Blau, our sheriff, says small landlords are going under with no help. So let's find out. We'll talk to an expert this week again, State Senator Art Haywood, because my sense is, and again, fortunately, I've not been caught up in that problem, is that even the assistance that small landlords are getting it doesn't cover everything. If you're going to tell somebody you can't put someone out, then you better come up with that mortgage payment, government, because it's unfair to say to someone that you can't do that and rent to someone who can pay, and at the same time, tough luck, here's $500 on your $1,500 mortgage. That's assistance. Well, yeah, kind of, not really. Because if you can't pay it, then you got to sell it or you got to lose it. I don't know if any of you ever been through that before, but if you wreck your credit like that, it will take you years to get it back. And so we don't want anyone hurt in this. And both of these groups that we're talking about are on the bottom, and the ones we get taken care of are the massive corporations, because unfortunately, small landlords are not big enough to fail. They're small enough to fail. They're small enough where the government will let you fail. It's kind of how it is in America. I'm just saying. I don't make this stuff up. I'm just reporting to you what I see, giving you my opinion on it. But right now, let's talk about something a little bit more uplifting. Well, I guess I thought so, but remember we were talking about COVID in the NFL, so maybe not. It's just different. Got on the air right now, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. I think that's the Queen City, if I'm not mistaken. I think I got that right. Wayne Box Miller, part of the Cincinnati Bengals radio broadcast team. He hosts the pregame and halftime and post-game shows with the Bengals. Used to host his own radio show in Cincinnati. That was one of the best sports shows I ever heard back in the day. It was a great show, the Primetime Sports Show. Box, what's up? Welcome back to Philly.
Hey, man, good to be back on with you. Always love talking to you guys in Philly, the Illadelphs and all that good stuff.
Look at you, man. Look at you. All right, I heard that. Trying to rep. So, listen, Box, the NFL. First of all, congrats working with the Bengals in that way. That's a great opportunity. And, I can't wait. Teams have ebbs and flows. And so the Bengals' future is looking promising. Right now you're like, yeah, I do this with the Bengals. Everybody, But all of a sudden, Joe Burris blows up. Bengals are like in the playoffs competing, and everybody's, yo, Box, got to get a ticket to that game?
Popularity breeds new relatives.
Absolutely. So can you break down what the NFL is doing with regard to COVID protocols? Because it seems to me what Roger Goodell is putting out is the first I've heard a major sporting group actually do. Is this unique what the NFL is doing with regard to COVID?
Well, I think every sports entity is trying to figure out how they can protect their billion-dollar investments. I mean, let's get to the heart of the matter. You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar entity, and they're trying to do everything they can to, protect that investment. The problem is you've got the vaccination issue where guys are unwilling to get vaccinated. So to try to urge, nudge, move them toward that vaccination, the NFL has now put in measures to say, if you don't, there's going to be a cost associated to that specific franchise, not just a game, but, potentially, money as well in terms of what it may cost the other team for that forfeit. So, I hate to say it this way, but, in the shortness of time, I'll just simply say they're putting the screws to it, because you're going to have to make a decision as an owner. How am I going to get these guys to get vaccinated and be in complete compliance with the NFL? And the NFL is doing that because they want to be in the best possible position to play all 17 games. Because remember, they added another regular season game this year, so it's not 16 games this year, it's a 17-game season. They basically trade out one preseason game and make it a regular season game. So there's a lot of money at stake, and as you know, Mark, when that kind of money at stake, they've got to do everything they can within the rights and bounds of the law.
Wow. So first of all, man, thanks for that. I must, with COVID this year and just really not tuning into sports the way that I typically have, I completely missed that we've gone to 17 games. So that is a game changer in and of itself. But yeah, so the idea that a team could lose, I mean, you're talking about, look, how many teams last year missed the playoffs by one game? Right?
Right.
Every year it's kind of like that, right? It's like you missed out by a half a game because of that tie that you had, or one game. And to lose a game because, I don't know, let's say one of your star players who doesn't want to be vaccinated catches COVID and comes and gives it to everybody at practice, do you think that this is going to put pressure on people like the Bills to make a decision about Cole Beasley, who's, I think, been probably the most outspoken star who refuses to be vaccinated? He's with the Bills now, used to be with the Cowboys. Will that put pressure on the teams to put pressure on their players?
Absolutely. I mean, from what I understand in the locker rooms now, you've got separation by players who have been vaccinated and players who haven't. because you just can't afford for that to happen because, contact tracing. So if a guy, gets diagnosed or whatever, those around him have to go into that protocol as well. So you've got teams keeping guys separate because they don't want that to happen again. You gotta make some hard, tough decisions. Let's say a guy like Cole Beasley is maybe on the bubble, or there's another guy that can play as well as him. Obviously he's a frontline player, but you're going to have some decisions made that are in the best interest of the team playing all 17 games. And I said this, not trying to make light of the situation, but, for these guys that don't want to get vaccinated, if you miss one paycheck and you look at that bank account, that direct deposit, and it's like, wait a minute, what happened? Well, nothing happened because you didn't get a check this week. A lot of times, all of a sudden, people start changing their mind. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. Everybody said Aaron Rodgers is not going to play for the Packers. He's not going to show up. Aaron Rodgers not. Where was Aaron Rodgers when it's time to report? He was at Green Bay Packers practice. Now, he unloaded on him, and boy, did he unload. But he didn't miss out on his money.
Man, that's so funny that you say that, because I know you heard me, going into the break about the story I want to talk to in the next segment. The suggestion about law enforcement and how to get them to behave better is to withhold payment of their total salary until they retired or before they quit, to make sure that they haven't done anything wrong. I mean, sometimes it does just come down to money, right? Like, the only thing that makes people comply and do right is, like you said, withholding that check.
You're playing with their money. It's like playing with their emotions, right? To quote a great movie.
I hear you, Big Worm. Well, what are the Bengals? I mean, so I don't know if you could talk about that, but have the Bengals had any issues publicly with COVID with any players?
No. To my knowledge, no. I mean, obviously, their locker room is separate with those that are vaccinated and those that are not. I mean, that's, one of the players mentioned that this past week. But, this is a dicey time because with the Delta variant coming, or actually here, I shouldn't say coming, but, I mean, the Delta variant is here. And, it's been proven that you could potentially still get COVID with the vaccination. It just decreases the chances of it taking you out of here, And so if the Delta variant comes and let's say a player contracts that, see, my biggest issue, Mark, is if you're not vaccinated and your friends and family come to visit, because right now there's no moratorium on staying away from people, and just like practice Saturday, a lot of family members were in town for that first practice in the stadium. What about those family members? Are they vaccinated? Who have they been around? The next day you're off on Sunday. Who are you interacting with, engaging with? And for those that may not necessarily believe in getting the vaccination, the risk of exposure is heightened. And between Saturday and today, if some guys get tested, who knows if, that could happen. So, there's so many things going on with that. You think about it again, as I said, a multi-billion-dollar entity like the NFL is focused on playing 17 games, the playoffs, and the Super Bowl. Now, to their credit, they were able to do that last year, and many of us thought that it wouldn't happen, but they got it done, and actually it was a great season. I mean, the games were great. The Super Bowl was fantastic, and so now they're trying to replicate that. But this is, we just don't understand how serious I think this next, virus could be. And so with guys not being vaccinated, and you forfeiting games, and you think about the NFL, if there are, let's say, 15 games scheduled or 14 or whatever the bye week, you got so many teams off. Man, if you had to cancel 5 or 6, 7 of those games, think about the ad revenue and those kind of things that they lose out on. I mean, a couple of weeks of that, man, you might see Mark Tyler in the Eagles uniform.
Right. Well, Raider uniform, but yeah, you're right. Well, maybe I would do the Eagles so I could hurt their chances at, like, anyway. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so, and let me just say this about COVID-19. I mean, here we are talking about the NFL going to the lengths of punishing teams by. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is such an extreme that they're going to punish teams by forfeiting games and giving them an L. Tells you everything you ought to know about how serious right now COVID-19 is. I have a friend who went out of the country on a vacation, had to take a test to get back in because that's the protocol, didn't pass the test. Fully vaccinated, discovered that, asymptomatic. He had some mild symptoms a week or so before, didn't realize it was COVID-19. So the idea that you cannot get it because you've been vaccinated is completely wrong. Thankfully, the vaccine helped, probably saved his life. He's feeling well, but he cannot get back in the country until after he tests negative and quarantines for a period of time. So we are in a place right now where this is not over. And if you didn't know that, then you should know by now by watching the NFL. Let me ask this. Has there been any talk about the NFL doing what the NBA did last year, going into a protective bubble?
No, I think when you look at the NFL, because there's so many players and staff, and just trying to do a bubble in that is very difficult to make happen. So I don't know. I drastic measures, may happen if you get to that place. But, the thing I say to people, man, is when you look at how many businesses closed up because of COVID, and you probably have listeners who are saying, I am one of those businesses that closed because of COVID. They understand as much as anybody why the NFL is trying to do any and everything it can to protect their investment. So, a lot of people that are purely fans may just say, well, they're trying to tell people what they can do, and they're trying to make people do this. If you run a business, you see this through a totally different lens, and I think that I get it. I truly get it. And as an individual, I get it. I mean, as Americans, we're spoiled, we're arrogant. We want our way, we want it today, versus everybody putting in 30 days of commitment to wear a mask and to stay covered up in the beginning, which would have been highly effective. No, you're not going to tell me what to do. I can do what I want to do. It's no more for the greater good. It's just for my good.
Wow. Man, listen, I'm going to stop right there. I wanted to get into some other things with you about Bron's son, but I'm going to bring you back on when Bishop Royster comes back, because we both had some thoughts about those rule changes, especially how that changes where the money is going, but it also gives some empowerment to young people and their families in this moment. But I appreciate you getting on this morning with us. Wayne Box Miller, he is one of the voices of the Cincinnati Bengals broadcast. And hey, how you all liking that first round pick of yours? I saw, I was in Cincinnati last week, saw a lot of young people rocking his jersey.
Oh, man, Jamar Chase is going to be a star in this league. We probably got the best wide receiver trio in Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and now Jamar Chase. So people are super excited, man, and looking forward to a much improved year. Again, the expectations are higher, and they should be, but I think this team might surprise a lot of people. And offensively, with Joe Mixon, who's from your neck of the woods out there in the Oakland area, if he's healthy and running like he's capable, they should do well this year. Really looking forward to the season.
All right. Well, look, man, good luck to you all. But, if it comes down to you all on the Raiders, you already know where my heart is. So until then, do well.
You better go with where your wife goes. That's where your heart better be.
Yeah, right. On this issue, we are a house divided. Take care, Box. Thanks, bro.
I'm rooting for the Raiders. Hand me my blanket and pillow. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Talk to you later, bro.
Okay, bro.
Oh, Wayne Box Miller. Yeah, man. Listen, folks. I mean, if there's anything that needed to remind you of how serious this is, is when the National Football League is talking about snatching games away from you if your team comes back with COVID. And yes, as we get ready to go to break, Will Mega, great question. What about educators exposed to students who aren't vaccinated? Vaccinations aren't mandatory for students, but we still have to work with them in closed spaces with poor ventilation. What do we do? You're right. And guess what? A lot of teachers are older people. And a lot of teachers have pre-existing health conditions. And is it fair to ask them to go risk their lives to teach your child that you don't want to get vaccinated because you have, I don't know, some kind of stance on vaccination? Maybe you need to divide the schools into the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Wasn't that interesting? That was news to me, that the locker rooms in the NFL have become segregated, not by race like they used to be, but by vaccination status. Was that new to anybody else other than me? That's like serious. The NFL is like, no, Cole Beasley and your crew, we ain't playing with you. This is a health crisis, not a time to get political. And some folk ain't gonna learn till they like 6 feet under the ground, unfortunately. Or laid up in a hospital on a ventilator, talking like a lot of those people like, I didn't believe it, but you should get vaccinated. Damn, really? Now? I guess better late than never. We gotta take a break. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour.
Whatever the world brings, we're always moving forward. Reinventing business, reimagining home, and re-emphasizing community. At PECO, we're redefining support, finding new ways to provide financial assistance, supporting opportunities for good jobs, and uplifting our communities. We're by your side through it all, because whatever the future holds, you're ready to take it on, and we're ready to power it. Find the support you need at PECO.com.
Hey WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to WURDradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today.
Save the date. Thursday, August 26th for WURD Radio's annual Founders Day celebration, honoring the life of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD.
This year will be both in person and virtual.
Stay tuned to WURD Radio and WURDradio.com for more information.
That's Thursday, August 26th for our annual Founders Day celebration.
Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app,
or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. Now, a traffic update
on WURD Radio.
This report sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Some volume getting busy on I-95 southbound Commandant Bridge, jamming through the construction. You get Allegheny through Girard, getting slow northbound side, looking good. Westbound Vine Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway, a bit of a slow ride there. Schuylkill Expressway, westbound, broad to Penrose Avenue. Going to find some slowing there through ongoing construction west of that city out to Belmont Light eastbound. No major problems yet. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound from Broad down to Wissahickon, some light volume through that work zone. 55 northbound Deptford into 42, slowing there now. Looking for a job? Contact Express Employment Professionals and be part of a national hiring event. With one application, Express connects you with multiple employers and never charges a fee. Go to expresspros.com, find your nearest office, and call Express today. For more traffic information, log on to SIGALert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunny, breezy, and nice with very low humidity today, a high of 83 this afternoon. Mainly clear tonight, a low of 62 Tuesday, increasing high clouds tomorrow, a high of 80 degrees. Lots of high cloudiness around on Wednesday, right back up to 80 after a morning low of 64. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
All right, folks, join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, Northwest, and South Philly. Tiffany Bacon will broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Our next stop is South Philly at the Marion Anderson Recreation Center, 740 South 17th Street on Friday, August the 6th, one day before a very special day, by the way. Enjoy live performances, meet special guests, and stand with WURD. Be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support and join or renew your WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at Marion Anderson Rec Center this Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. It's going to be good because Tiffany Bacon is there. Let's see. Craig Williams says, good morning, everyone. I was totally unaware that NFL locker rooms were split. Wow. Yeah, bro. That got me too. You know, Wayne just got to let that just roll out like it was like new, like it wasn't news. But I'm like, that's news to me. Maybe as churches reopen, should we say to choirs, we're going to split you in the choir room by vaccination status. You know, you typically have the sopranos, the altos, and the tenors in the choir loft. No, forget that. The unvaccinated ones sing on this side, and all the unvaccinated worshipers sit on that side. The vaccinated sing and sit on the other side. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that this, you know, the numbers, just so you know, according to a report that I saw this morning, the numbers have doubled everywhere in the country with the exception of, I think, 4 states in the last week or so. Now, in some of those places, I'm talking about people who are hospitalized with COVID. Now, in some of those places, it's like, you know, I think our region went from like 10 to 20 to 30, something like that. And you'll say, well, that's not a lot. That's not a lot of people. But, you know, let's go back a year and a half because we Americans have very short-term memory. You know, we develop like historical amnesia pretty quickly. Remember when it was just like one person who had come into the country who had COVID? I think I remember a former president saying, it's just one person. It'll be over in a minute. Poof, it'll be like it never happened. Poof. Poof, more than 500,000 people dead later. Poof, it's still happening. So don't get comfortable and lulled into thinking that it's over because it's not. And so because many of us have been vaccinated, we have a special layer of protection that even if you catch it, chances are, with very few exceptions, I think Fauci calls those breakout cases, chances are you will be fine. Even if you have to be hospitalized, you will be fine in most cases. But there are a lot of unvaccinated people, as we're discovering. People in our own families, man, who just, if you've had any of these conversations with your own family members, boy, it will just blow your mind. It will blow your mind. It's like, seriously, cuz? Man, you sound like a Trumper right now. You should. Who did you vote for, by the way? I mean, like, really? Nikki O'Tim, wow, that's interesting. How are you going to separate the mass choir? I don't know, Nikki O'Tim. I'm just saying, just using it as an extreme. I don't think we'd ever get to that point. But I am saying that if the NFL is segregating people, It's only a matter of time before others, get there. So on YouTube, I'm trying to see the comment. I don't know who it was. I think it was, I don't know, maybe Nikki O. Tim or Lola Khan. Someone posted that they've gotten to the place where if they have friends or family who are unvaccinated, oh, it was Nikki O. Tim, says, one of my longtime friends just told me that she's not vaccinated. She's retired. I told her she can't come over. Sorry. Yep. Has to kind of come down to that stuff. Oh, yes, thank you, Tawanda. The Mask Choir. Not the Mask Choir anymore. The Mask Choir. Bishop Peggy says 1,574 new cases as of August 1st in Pennsylvania. So let us, again, as we say in the church, govern yourselves accordingly. I mean, man, I've been enjoying not having to wear a mask everywhere. And I know it just kind of sucks right now thinking about in the heat of the summer, having to go back to that doggone thing. But, I think that's where I'm headed. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't think I realized I wasn't ready for this part. The reluctance of people in the face of everything that we have been through, the mass death, the mass illness, the empty streets of last year, oh man, it's just too much. And then to get to this point where you have vaccinations readily available and, your own family members, your own church members, the friends from the mosque, friends from your temple, your synagogue, co-workers, neighbors, folk that you love, talking about, man, I ain't getting that thing. Government ain't telling me what to put in my body. It's all a trick. They want to find you. Trust me, they already know where to get you. They've been knowing that since you've been buying batteries from old Radio Shacks. If they want to find you, they got you. You got an iPhone. You got an Android. This ain't about that. They don't even need that anymore. Hate to go all George Orwell in 1984 on you and all that, but believe me, they don't need any of that. You give them everything they need to know. You're all on social media. So don't worry about that. You help them find you. We're trying to save each other's lives. And that's the pregnant pause, not my screen didn't freeze up. It's just tiresome. It really is, after all the work that all of us put in last year to get to this place, and then the issue is just a bunch of people just being ignorant. And I mean, if you're scared of the vaccine, okay, but then at least wear a mask. And this is what I'm talking about, being ignorant. It's not like, I get it, if you're afraid of the vaccine, I understand. People get scared of needles. They get scared of putting something in their body. Okay. But then don't go around rocking no mask, walking up and coughing in people's faces. That's just ignorant. You got to do one or the other. I mean, if you're not going to do the vaccine, what is so wrong with doing the mask? I don't understand that. I just don't understand that part. Why do you have to be told to do this? Just some people are just contrary. You meet them in conversations. If you say it's nice outside, it ain't so nice. I don't know what's so nice about 62 degrees. It's just they're contrarians. And apparently they're coming out all over the place now. Yep, Craig says, I return to wearing a mask indoors and outside of my own home. Sadly. Well, Amazon, get ready to get a new order from me today. I sure hate it. So tomorrow we're going to start with this story. Let me see. It's an op-ed if you are, I'm going to post it right now on Facebook and on YouTube. It's an op-ed that came out in the Philadelphia Inquirer by Hamid Mehran. And it is an interesting take on what he believes we should be thinking about as it relates to how to rein out of control police behavior in. They need more than a mask. He says take their money, put it up in an account, and give it to them at the end of their career, provided that they did not do anything wrong. I kind of like that, bro. Kind of like that. So listen, folks, that's all the time that we have, all that we have time for today. Let me see, I'm going to post that there. And there you are. So you got it on Facebook and on YouTube Live. Let's get into that on tomorrow. We're going to look for State Senator Art Haywood to talk about the eviction moratorium and much more. Thank you, Kawesa. Thanks to all of you. And if Bishop Dwayne Royster were here today and not chilling out on vacation getting rest, he would say to you, go out and change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. That's all we got for you today. Prayerfully, we'll see you tomorrow. The Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Peace.